So guys, what's going on? I hope you guys well. I hope you guys are staying safe. Guys, I'm gonna go on a rant. And this rant's about Oleksandr Usyk. Guys, when are people gonna start putting respect? When are boxing fans gonna start putting respect on Oleksandr Usyk's name? When are they gonna start putting respect on Oleksandr Usyk's name? I'm so glad the Ring magazine have got Oleksandr Usyk #1. I saw ESPN's pound for pound rank. That Usyk at #6. Mike Coppinger did a pound for pound. Usyk at #7. When are you gonna put respect on this man's name? When? This man has gone to Glowacki, who was a champion, his backyard in Poland, beat him. He went to Bradis' backyard in Latvia, I believe, and beat him. He went to Michael Hunter's backyard and beat him. He went to Gassiev's backyard and beat him. He went to Tony Bellew's backyard and beat him. He went to Derek Chisora's backyard and beat him. He went to Anthony Joshua's backyard and beat him. Oleksandr Usyk is a undisputed cruiserweight world champion and a unified heavyweight champion in 19 fights. And he's done that by going to people's backyard. When is Oleksandr Usyk gonna get respect put on his name? Look, I've said for a long time that I think Canelo is pound for pound #1. Canelo's lost. So automatically that spot, you lose that spot. If you lose, irrespective of the fact that Canelo went up and 175, I get all of that. I get the fact that Canelo went up there. And for me personally, Canelo should be #1 with what he's done, but he's lost. So now he gets off that top spot because he lost. Even though he lost against a bigger man, unfortunately, I just don't think with a loss you can be pound for pound #1. You know, but can Canelo get back there? Of course he can. A couple of good a win against Dimitri Bivol, he's back pound for pound #1. So, but the fact that now Canelo's lost, I don't know how you can make a case for anybody else apart from Oleksandr Usyk. When are boxing fans going to put respect on this guy's name? When are boxing fans going to put respect on Oleksandr Usyk's name? I said this in the live stream. I stressed this in the live stream yesterday, that this guy is going to people's backyard and beating them well, beating them comfortably. There seems to be no credit. There seems to be no I'm so glad the Ring magazine has put him at #1. But the fans, when they talk about pound for pound, they don't even put Usyk on. Like, Usyk is like #5, #6, #4. Like, how are you saying Errol Spence is better than Usyk? How are you saying Terence Crawford is better than Usyk? Terence Crawford in the last couple of years has beaten Porter, Kell Brook, Amir Khan. These are fighters that are past their best. And by the way, these weren't even champions. Porter wasn't even a champion. Neither was Khan, neither was Brook. You know, the only champion that Terence Crawford's beaten in recent times is Jeff Horn. His resume is so poor. So what are we saying, right? We're saying Terence Crawford, the fact that Terence Crawford looks good to the eye, yeah, he gets pound for pound #1. However, Usyk looks good to the eye and he's got unbelievable resume, right? And he's going to people's backyard and beating them comfortably. But yeah, he doesn't get considered pound for pound #1. You know, people making, well, he's a heavyweight. No, he wasn't a heavyweight. He was a cruiserweight. He's taken the biggest jump. The jump from cruiserweight to heavyweight is the biggest jump. He just beat a guy that was 30 pounds bigger than him. That's pound for pound, ain't it? Pound for pound is moving up weight classes and beating guys that are bigger. And also, if you were the same size as that guy, who would win? But Oleksandr Usyk is beating guys that are 30 pounds heavier than him. He's at 6'3", he's fought Joshua 6'6", 240 something pounds. Oleksandr Usyk was 220 pounds. Come on, guys. When is people like Usyk gonna get their respect, their credit, man? Oleksandr Usyk should be pound for pound #1 over Crawford and Canelo. He doesn't get any respect. He doesn't get any respect. It really irritates me is that when people, I don't know whether it's bias, the fact that Usyk isn't as popular, Usyk hasn't got as many fans, you know, Usyk isn't out there. But the fact of the matter is, give people credit when it's due. Oleksandr Usyk is an unbelievable talent, and he just gets on about his job. He doesn't do any trash talking. He doesn't do anything. He just gets on with his job. He just goes in there, absolutely outclasses you, beats you up, and then goes on. He's just a brilliant fighter. Just give people credit where it's due, man. This is a guy that's been doing exceptional things over the last couple of years. You know, in 19 fights, man, 19 fights, he's an undisputed cruiserweight champion. And in a cruiserweight division, that was very tough. You know, we're talking about guys like Marius Brady, Gassiev, Michael Hunter, you know, Glowacki, you know, and then he beat Tony Bellew, Derek Chisora, Anthony John. This is all in 19 fights, guys. All in 19 fights. Who else has got a resume? Like, you probably can't find another boxer in history of the sport of boxing with a resume like that after 19 fights. The guy has an incredible resume, after 19 fights. He's hardly had any fights. You know, 19 fights is generally a guy finding his way. You know, Oleksandr Usyk has gone right to the top right away. You know, 19 fights, undefeated, undisputed cruiserweight and a heavyweight, unified heavyweight champion. It's unbelievable. You could imagine if he fights AJ again, that's 20 fights. In 21 fights, potentially, he could be undisputed in 2 weight classes. If he beats Tyson Fury. For me, if he beats Tyson Fury, he'll go down the greatest fighter of this generation. Honestly, I've said this for a while now, that I think Eastern Europeans might be the best fighters in the world right now. In MMA and boxing. They're unbelievable. Their calmness, their coolness. They get on with their job. They don't do any trash talking. They just go in there and do their job. It's brilliant. They're brilliant. They're just brilliant athletes. They're brilliant fighters. But I don't think enough respect is put on their name. I honestly don't think, I can't believe people don't give Oleksandr Usyk his flowers. This man's a phenom. What he's done in boxing. He's a phenom. You know, but he doesn't get any credit, man. It really irritates me, honestly. It really irritates me when I see fighters like Oleksandr Usyk get ignored, don't get the respect from the fans. And I'm so glad the Ring magazine has put him at #1 pound for pound. Because the other pound for pound lists I saw from ESPN and Mike Coppinger's and other pound for pound lists that don't have Usyk on, I'm so glad the Ring magazine have done the right thing and put him pound for pound #1. Because there's no one more deserving than Oleksandr Usyk. Terence Crawford does not have a better resume. And I like Terence Crawford. I think Terence Crawford's an exceptional fighter. But, you know, Terence Crawford is #2 pound for pound. You know, Terence Crawford has a high inflated opinion about himself that he should be pound for pound, but he doesn't done more than Usyk. What's he done more than Usyk? Usyk has become undisputed at cruiserweight and is now a unified heavyweight champion. That's not more than Usyk. And then he's done it in 19 fights. How many fights has Crawford had? Crawford's had double the amount of fights that Usyk has had. And yet he's become undisputed and he's a welterweight world champion. He's a 3-division world champion. The difference is Oleksandr Usyk has beaten better guys in 19 fights. He's got a better resume than Crawford in 19 fights, in half the number of fights. In half the number of fights, Oleksandr Usyk has a better resume than Crawford. Yet people are overlooking Oleksandr Usyk pound for pound #1. Why? Because he's not popular, because he doesn't talk a lot, because he doesn't shout a lot. No. He's pound for pound #1. He's pound for pound #1. I'm sick of these people. I'm sick of people overlooking these great fighters. Who's doing it like Oleksandr Usyk in the game right now? And he wants all the smoke. He wants the Tyson Fury fight after AJ. The guy wants all the smoke. He wants it all. He deserves his credit. He deserves his flowers, man. Give him his props. Give him his due. A guy shouldn't have to talk a lot or have a lot of fans or be popular to be on a pound for pound list or be #1 pound for pound. It should be down to skills, ability, resume, and what they're doing inside the ring and what they've done for you lately. And Oleksandr Usyk has done a lot lately. People need to start putting respect on this man's name and start giving him his credit. Start giving him his flowers. It's so irritating for me that someone like Oleksandr Usyk constantly gets overlooked and constantly gets put to one side. His resume is exceptional. His resume is unparalleled. Like, there isn't many fighters out there with a resume. He's had 19 fights. 9 fights. Which fighter do you know in the history of boxing in 19 fights has done that much in the game? You tell me another boxer with 19 fights that had done that much in boxing. I've had arguments with a lot of people about Oleksandr Usyk, but he doesn't get his flowers. He doesn't get his credit. He doesn't get his flowers. He doesn't get his flowers, man. A guy that's achieved so much in such a short space of time, and he's not even afraid to go to these people's backyards and fight them. He's going to their backyard, in their backyard where they've got their fans, and he's beating them up in their backyard. Right? There's no greater way of winning a title than that. Beating the champion in his backyard. You know, Errol Spence did that against Kell Brook, and I gave him immense credit for it. Alexander's been doing that every fight, and they've all been at a high level. The guy's a phenomenon. But people, I don't know whether, whether the fact that people are just have, they're biased, they support they've got their favorite fighters and they support them. But honestly, Oleksandr Usyk needs a lot more credit from us guys. You know, we need to be neutral. We need to be giving people credit that deserve it. Oleksandr Usyk deserves his flowers. He deserves his credit. There isn't a boxer out there in 19 fights that has done that much and is so decorated in 19 fights. It really irritates me that people like Usyk don't get their credit. I don't know why that is, but they should do. And he's a phenomenal fighter. He's a phenomenal fighter, and he fights everybody. He fights the best, and he wants to fight the best. He's not avoiding anybody. He wants to fight everybody, and he's making it happen. But he doesn't seem to get the credit. He doesn't seem to get, the credit from the fans like some of the other fighters. Like people say, Spence. No, how is Spence ahead of Usyk? You tell me. Like Spencer's got a good resume, but Spencer's resume doesn't come close to Usyk's. Usyk just beat a unified heavyweight champion, and then it is, what? The thing is, with the cruiserweight division, it's always pretty weak. It's always been pretty weak. It's never been that strong. But this is probably one of the strongest cruiserweight divisions when Usyk was there. We're talking about, he had guys like Dorticos, he had guys like Gassiev, Bradis, Glowacki, himself, Michael Hunter, Tony Bellew. That is a really strong cruiserweight division. That's a really strong cruiserweight division. And he cleaned it out. He cleaned it out, man. And then he went to heavyweight and fought Derek Chisora, who, by the way, is like, you could say at this point in his career, he's pretty old. He's a gatekeeper. But then he beat the unified heavyweight champion of the world in Anthony Joshua. And he just didn't beat him. For me, he beat him soundly. He beat him just like Bivol beat Canelo. He beat him soundly, beat him well. But he almost, on the pound for pound list, gets overlooked because he's a heavyweight. But remember, he's a cruiserweight moving up to heavyweight. And that's the biggest jump any fighter can make. Because heavyweights don't have limits. Heavyweights can weigh 200, 300, 400 pounds if they want in a fight. They don't have a limit. So Usyk is a guy moving up, and he's a smaller guy moving up and fighting these guys, and we're not putting him on the pound for pound list as number one. Yeah, he's got the best resume of the last couple of years. He's going to guys' backyards and beating them. He's undisputed in one weight class and one belt away from being undisputed in his second weight class. When are we going to give him his flowers? When are we going to give him his credit? And I made this video as a passionate rant because I want us to start giving Oleksandr Usyk his flowers. And Oleksandr Usyk right now for me is above Canelo and Crawford pound for pound. I'm sorry, Oleksandr Usyk is the best fighter right now pound for pound, and give him his credit. If Canelo beats Bivol again, yes, I'll put Canelo number. If Crawford beats Spence, yeah, I'll put Crawford number one. But at the end of the day, right now, going off resume, going off what you've done for me lately, going off titles won of late, you have to give Oleksandr Usyk his flowers. He's so accomplished. Give him his credit. Give him his flowers. I just feel like it's irritating for me that Usyk never seems to make it on a lot of these guys' pound for pound lists. I don't know what they watch. And it's not like Usyk is not very good to the eye, or Usyk's one of the most skilled fighters in boxing. This guy's probably one of the best pure boxers out there in boxing right now. He's so good. He's so good. But that's enough of the rant. that's another rant. And leave your opinions on what you think I said there. Do you agree? Do you disagree with me? Do you think I'm talking rubbish? Do you think you say, no, Imran, you're speaking sense? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace, guys.